front, in fact, has been opened by Iran in this particular fight against Israel and the United States of America, and that's Lebanon. Your first reaction to where it is really going? What is the strategy, in your opinion, Ms. Heena Shankar?
Look, quite frankly, the Iranians are attacking U.S. facilities in the Gulf and countries in the Gulf which host U.S. bases and facilities. So they haven't stopped their attacks. There's been an attack on a tanker off the coast of Oman. There's been some attack in Ras Al Khaimah. And the British Maritime Security Agency also reports that a ship has been hit with 2 projectiles in the port of Bahrain. So we see that it is expanding, and the UK has apparently now agreed to allow the US to use UK bases, including in London and including near London and Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. So we are seeing that this is not really being contained at the moment, and Israel has also announced that it is undertaking additional strikes in Iran, and it has targeted the Revolution Square in Tehran, where mourners had gathered. And the head of the National Security Council in Iran, Ali Larijani, has said that they have not approached the US for talks. So right now, it doesn't look as though any of the participants are really pulling back. And Iran is continuing its wave of attacks, and Israel is responding. Other countries which had sought to stay out of active conflict, like UK, now run the risk of being drawn in. In Lebanon, Hezbollah has said that they will, attack Israeli facilities. But the Lebanese government has said that that is illegal and so on. So we really don't know where this is going to go right now. Will it eventually lead to resumed talks, or will this kind of, violence and conflict continue? That is a question.
Nobody really knows where is it headed, when will it end really. Of course, that's a very, very important point you have made, Ambassador Heena Shankar. Request you to stay on with us. Let me also get in a quick word from Dr. John Harrison as well, and then we'll go across to some more breaking updates that we are getting. Dr. Harrison, now there's one question that I want to ask you. What we are witnessing right now is retaliation by Iran after its supreme leader Khamenei was killed. It's targeting infrastructure in Israel. It's targeting important assets of America, specifically in Gulf countries as well. Saudi has already expressed, its intention. It's likely to join America and Israel. But we are not really seeing other Gulf countries really responding to how Iran is targeting the assets in their countries, even if they belong to the U.S. Why so?
I think many of the countries here are still hoping that there can be some sort of de-escalatory path forward. Many of the countries, in fact, all the countries that are being struck, as your previous panelist mentioned, tried to stay out of the war. In fact, they made statements that they were not going to be involved and that they were not going to allow U.S. bases and facilities to be used in the attack. So I don't think this is in retaliation for the death of the supreme leader. This was part of Iran's strategy from the start. They were going to try to, I think, widen the war in an effort to make it clear to its own population that this is a war of all against us. The last card really the regime has to play is uniting everyone around the flag. And whether or not you like the regime, this is what's happening. The international community is coming after us, and you have to rally around to protect us because we are a great nation and a great people. No one denies that Iran is a great nation and has the potential to be even better. But right now, the regime thinks it is in its final stages. So it has to use every card it has to play. If you don't think there's a future for you, you're not going to moderate your response. And Iran has been planning for a strike, something like this, for almost 50 years, thinking that their enemies, the great Satan and all of the sort of the little dominion, the little demons around them, are going to strike. And right now, Iran, from their perspective, would see that this is the case, and that they don't buy that anybody is not involved in this. So they are going to try and bring the war to as many people and countries as they can, in an effort not only to unite their own population, but also in attempting to bring pressure on the United States and Israel, to say that the more countries that get involved, the more likely it is that one of them will be able to find whatever that pathway out is, to place pressure on the United States and Israel. And it doesn't seem like that's going to happen yet.
Well, absolutely. Given the kind of statements we're getting from the United States of America, clearly that looks unlikely. Requesting both of you to please stay on with us, Dr. Harrison, as well as Ambassador Meera Shankar. We have some more breaking inputs coming in at this point in time because viewers, it's a developing story. Developments are taking place thick and fast. Now, the latest is media reports are suggesting the Saudi Defense Ministry's official spokesperson has said that 5 hostile drones were intercepted near Prince Sultan Air Base. Let's go across to my colleague Meghna as well, who's been tracking the developments as far as Saudi is concerned and how key assets are being now targeted. What can you share with us, Meghna?
Yes, that is the disturbing bit, Heena, that key assets are being targeted. There are 2 types of assets. One, of course, is the fact American assets, which are being targeted specifically by Iran. But we are also saying that there is a sustained effort to try and break, as many are saying, break the resolve of US by targeting supply chains. Things which are going to impact the oil supply chains across the world to force US to come to a ceasefire. Because remember, earlier in the day, you had President Trump coming out and saying talks are off the table, that we wanted to have a talk, and then they did not agree. They said yes, then they said no, so on and so forth. So if talks are off the table, what are the options that Iran has? One is to force US, and one of the ways, other than targeting US consulates, other than targeting US naval bases that we've seen across the Gulf, one of the ways that they are perhaps also looking at is to disrupt the global supply chains of oil, and that has been one of the most destructive features when it comes to the global economy as well.
Well, absolutely. And this is significant because we didn't really expect, Iran to also target Aramco, the oil refinery, which is extremely critical. Thank you, Meghna, for joining us and getting us those details. Ambassador Meera Shankar, also on this latest update from Oman that we have got. Ma'am, 1 Indian national has been killed. And, we don't really know, like you said, when this is going to really end. How concerned are you with this development?
Well, I think that can be an alarming situation because it could spiral out of control. It's a very major, conflict involving a large number of countries, affecting a large number of countries. And I think that always holds the danger of it spiraling out of control. Within Iran right now, there have been, no demonstrations against the regime. People and crowds have come out of mourners, actually, because Khamenei is being seen as a martyr in the Shia tradition of martyrdom. And the ripple effects of this, because he was seen as a religious leader by the Shias, is being felt in many countries, including South Asia. In Pakistan, you've had demonstrations and people trying to, climb over the gates of the US consulate in Karachi. People have had to be killed. to control the mob. About,
Right.
varying figures. 9 people have died in that. In
Right.
India, there have been demonstrations in Srinagar, in Kargil, in Kashmir, in
Even in
Lucknow.
Bengaluru, Lucknow, yes.
Don't forget, actually, and this is something which is not very well known, that India has the second largest Shia population in the world
Right.
outside Iran. And
Right.
so it's not something which is just a localized, which
Right.
can be contained in a localized manner.
Right.
I mean, we really hope that it can be, because nobody wants to see this situation escalate. And we
Absolutely.
would rather that we go back to diplomacy and negotiations to resolve the issue. Now, one question that I do have is that
Yes.
apparently, from all accounts, the talks were making progress.
Yes.
There were talks going on in Geneva. They were making progress. Iran had agreed that they will surrender all their existing stockpiles of enriched
Right.
uranium and will not enrich uranium in future and will not stockpile it. They had agreed to forswear nuclear weapons. The
Yes.
sticking point was whether they would still have the right to uranium enrichment in principle.
Right.
Up to thresholds permitted by the Non-Proliferation Treaty and
Yes.
the IAEA for non-nuclear weapon states. I think
Right.
that was the sticking point. So it really seems, what could I say, a bit impetuous
Right.
to really attack at a point when it looked as though diplomacy
Yes.
might work.
I think
Given
you've
a
hit the
little
nail on the head, and that was the point that we were focusing on day one itself, because Geneva talks, were the focus, and suddenly within few hours we got news of, Iran being targeted in a joint operation by United States of America and Israel. So what really happened in just a few hours that suddenly made American president and then the Prime Minister of Israel coming out and say that Iran's terrorist regime poses an existential threat to Israel, and that's the need of that's why a regime change is in fact the need of the hour. Ma'am, stay on with us. Dr. Harrison also stays with us. We have some more breaking inputs coming in right now. U.S. President Donald Trump has now reacted. He has said that he was very disappointed with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for not allowing the United States to use the Diego Garcia Air Base to carry out strikes on Iran. This is what media reports are suggesting. They're quoting the U.S. president. He's reportedly said this in an interview. Couple of developments here. One, IDF has now launched a full-fledged campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Lebanese government officials have also made it absolutely clear that whoever is responsible from Hezbollah, action will be taken against Hezbollah operators as well. So what do you make of this?
Okay. If I might very briefly go back to your earlier question, why this has started now. The only reporting that was coming out that the negotiations were going well was actually from Oman. And the U.S. was certainly not commenting on this. And the reporting out of the United States in the last few hours has been that the administration did see that the negotiations were in fact not going to go anywhere. Iran hadn't really agreed to much of anything. And that there were also some strategic implications that the U.S. and the Israelis had an opportunity to strike at the senior leadership during the day on Saturday. So that's why the war started when it did. With your Lebanon question, certainly Hezbollah is a designated terrorist organization for many, many decades now. And Hezbollah has once again injected itself into a fight. It tries to claim sort of a status of resistance when they're not really resisting any occupation of their territory. They're simply serving as a proxy for their sponsors in Iran. The Israelis certainly have an ability, if they need to be able to remove Hezbollah. What I think is really the most interesting part of this is that the Lebanese government feels that it's strong enough to be able to say that it wants those Hezbollah members who are responsible to be arrested. Whether that ever happens or not probably remains to be seen. But it's critical that the government came out and said that, and that they seem to be trying to at least hint that maybe these individuals were operating alone. I would be skeptical of that. But certainly making an effort by the government to try to draw that distinction might be opening a path where there is some de-escalation possible, because Lebanon is going to suffer. And it's not because the government made any decisions, because an armed group has made a decision to inject itself into a conflict that it didn't need to be involved with. And now it's facing the potential consequences of those actions, not only on itself, but on the people of Lebanon. And as we've seen over the last several years, there's a generation of Lebanese who are now beginning to strike back, not only against the overall country's leadership, but Hezbollah specifically. So Hezbollah is making some choices that are going to be potentially very detrimental, not only to Lebanon, but the organization itself. And the widening of the conflict does not help, does not take any pressure off of Iran, and in fact, again, may lead to the destruction of Hezbollah itself. And they're already in a very weakened position to begin with. But that's I think just underscores the wider point that we've been making over the last over the last day or so, that Iran views this as an existential threat. It is clear that the government and that the regime is going to change. Whether that means permanent removal or not, it remains to be seen. But the end result for Iran, from their perspective, is that the regime is over, and that they need to do everything they can to try to prevent that outcome from happening, or at the very least, delay it to a point where they might be able to get some sort of a deal where the regime would remain in place, but certain individuals will change, or there'd be reforms or something like that. But all of the steps that have taken or been failed to take, all the paths that Iran has passed up over the last several weeks, but more likely the last decade or more, has led them to this position.
Okay. In fact, we're getting some more updates. U.S. President Donald Trump has reportedly said Iranians really want to make a deal. He claims that he told them they should have made it a week ago. And this is the fresh claim that has come as per reports. Dr. Harrison and Ambassador Heena Gambhir, stay on with us. In fact, viewers, in the morning, we also got you an update about U.S. fighter jet crashing. We got one visual of F-15 crashing in Kuwait. Then Kuwaiti authorities confirmed that there were multiple, American fighter jets that crashed. And now we have an update coming in. Let's go across to my colleague Sagrika, who's in fact been tracking this particular aspect very closely. Sagrika, what's the update? I believe there were 3.
Yes, Heena, there is an update, and this is the US that's confirming that there were 3 F-15s involved, but they've also said it was in friendly fire. 6 crew members were involved. All of them, are safe. But why is this important? I'd like to take you explain this graphically, because Kuwait matters. And why does it matter? Here we're talking about how there is a major US forward air hub in the Gulf, and it is close to both Iraq, Iran, and also shipping lanes. There are also going to be a lot of energy implications that you've been tracking. Why are we saying this? Because if F-15s have been down, debris reportedly could be inside a refinery zone. What could that mean? Kuwait is a major oil producer, and it is also near the Strait of Hormuz and the shipping artery there. So this will be the energy implication. Then we're talking about military implications. Here it is the US's F-15s involved. These are long-range deep strike platforms. Then they're also heavy payload carriers. So yes, Kuwait. So the one is that Iran is now going after US's friends, and at the same time, we are looking at how the theater of war is only expanding.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Sagrika, for joining us with those details. We are also joined on the broadcast by Lieutenant General retired S.L. Narasimhan, member National Security Advisory Board. He's also Director General Center for Contemporary China. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us here on Times Now. I'll be coming to you, sir, in just a bit. And my other guests also continue to be with us at this point in time. Let's also tell our viewers a little bit about, the importance of Kuwait specifically, why Kuwait really matters, something that Sagarika was talking about. Let's show you viewers in this graphic that we are going to be pulling out for you, the theater of war, how that is expanding and why Kuwait matters. Kuwait, as Sagarika was also telling us, hosts Ali Al Salam Air Base. It is a major U.S. forward air hub, in fact, in the Gulf. We'll put this graphics out for our viewers energy implications are also important here. The debris is reportedly inside the refinery zone, and energy, market is going to get impacted badly, which we are already seeing happening. Remember, Brent already jumped about 10% on Monday after the conflict escalated over the weekend. Military implications are also there, which are important. A U.S. F-15 long-range deep strike platform, heavy payload carrier. It's designed, in fact, for contested airspace. The latest update, viewers, we are getting is that U.S. and Israel's epic fury is in top gear now. Missiles of mayhem strike Tehran. Barrage of missiles, in fact, unleashed on Tehran. This is the latest update that we are getting for our viewers at this point in time. Let's get in a quick word from Lieutenant General Narasimhan. Your reaction to the latest updates that we are getting, missiles of mayhem striking Tehran, barrage of missiles, in fact, have been unleashed on Tehran, sir.
Let me have one correction. Both the appointment that you mentioned, make it former, I'll be happy.
I mentioned retired, sir.
The retired is from the army, but otherwise former. That's fine,
Okay.
absolutely fine.
Okay,
The thing about this particular thing that you're talking about, the missiles, is even in June last year, when this attack took place, the air defenses of Iran seems to have been weak. Similarly, today also, if you see the way the precision targeting has been done on the leadership and other places, it seems to be that the air defense of Iran seems to be a little weak, and that is going to have an effect on this barrage of missiles coming on to Tehran. And that is something that we need to keep in mind, that this kind of damage is going to happen. However, Iran still retains the capability to retaliate. It has got approximately about anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 missiles, of which some would have been launched in the first 2 days. They still have enough capacity to reply to these kind of barrages that are coming in. As I see it, this is going to only expand for a few days before it comes down. Escalate before you de-escalate.
See de-escalation soon? Do you see signs of that happening? And because, the way Iran is now unleashing missiles on Gulf countries and the kind of response we are getting from Israel now, a new front being opened up, with Lebanon as well. Do you really see de-escalation taking place maybe in 1 or 2 days? Or do you think we are here for some more days at least?
I get a feeling this will carry on for some more days. That is my understanding, basically because of the capability which both sides have. Even though Israel has launched some offensive on Lebanon, they still retain enough capacity to target Iran. And combined with the force of US that is operating there, I think this is something that will definitely carry on for a few more days. Though Mr. Trump has said that Iran wants to negotiate with them, but there has been no message from Iran to corroborate that as yet. So this is something that is going to go on for some more time as a pressure tactic. I get a feeling we are in for a few more days of this kind of an operations going on.
Okay, that's an important point, sir, that you have mentioned, and we have some more breaking inputs, viewers, coming in at this point in time. As I was mentioning earlier as well, US President Donald Trump has reportedly told media that Iranians really want to make a deal. This is what Donald Trump has claimed. According to him, he told them they should have made it a week ago. Trump says his administration estimated it would take 2 or 3 weeks to eliminate part of Iran's leadership, but we eliminated all of it in a single day. Dr. Harrison, this is the point that even Ambassador Veera Shankar had made earlier, that while the idea was that perhaps something is going to come out of the Geneva talks and suddenly we have two big operations being launched by US and Israel, and now Trump claiming Iranians really wanted to make a deal and he told them they should have done it a week ago. But talks were going on, isn't it?
Well, again, I'm not sure from the reporting what exactly has transpired. Iran has had an opportunity, not just last week, but for years, to make a deal that would bring them into some sort of compliance with international standards. As has been mentioned before, if Iran says it only wants nuclear power, okay. We have an example here in the region. The United Arab Emirates has a nuclear facility that's all for power. It is under very strict international observation. There is no reprocessing, nothing that could give them an opportunity to get a nuclear program, a nuclear weapons program. Why didn't Iran agree to that? So, I mean, there are a number of things that Iran could have done, and it's not just within the last week or even the last hours. It has been decades of possible agreement, which Iran has consistently passed up. What was becoming clear from reporting in the United States that the administration, the president certainly, thought that these negotiations were just another example of Iran dragging out discussions to have discussions for discussion's sake, and that the president had at that point decided that his negotiators seemed to agree with it, that it was not going to go anywhere in any foreseeable time, so that the end of the road had been reached. And again, Iran made those decisions. So I certainly, I'm not criticizing the Omani government here. I think that they genuinely thought there was progress, but certainly from the United States perspective, whatever progress appeared to be made was really a feint to try to delay what the United States and Israel certainly thought was going to be an inevitable strike. Right. And that even with all the military power that's available, it is not, it's a finite resource. So the U.S. was not going to be able to maintain 3 carrier groups, about half of the naval strike capacity that it has for an indefinite period in the region, so that the clock had run out on Iran. And the Iranians certainly had to be aware of that. So if they needed to make some concessions, if they needed to make some tangible offers, they did not seem to read the signals properly. And that has been how we got to where we are.
Okay. Dr. Harrison, stay on with us. We have some more breaking inputs, in fact, coming in on this particular story. We just told you what Trump has reportedly, said, but now what we are getting is what's being reported in Iranian media. In fact, Iranian media has quoted a top official of Iran saying that Iran will hold no negotiations with the United States of America. This is the latest update coming in. Ambassador Meera Shankar, would you like to weigh in on this particular aspect? Because you have a statement now from Trump, and also what Iranian media is now reporting, that Iran is going to hold no negotiations with the United States of America.
Well, I think let's wait and see. But clearly at the moment, the Iranians are looking for revenge. They want to avenge the killing of their leadership. And they are attacking not only US and Israeli facilities, but also Gulf nations who they think are hosting US assets. You had earlier talked about the UK, and UK has now agreed to let the US use Diego Garcia as a staging post, but they have said that this would be only for defensive action. Not very clear what that would mean, and perhaps clarifying that this could mean taking out Iran's ballistic missile facilities and so on. Obviously, probably it means no more can't be used for launching assassination attempts against Iranian leaders. But, how they are ever going to be able to ensure that these conditions are adhered to is really very doubtful. But at the moment, as I said, the progress which was made in the negotiations on the nuclear issue, which has been the issue of utmost concern for most people with regard to Iran, actually required a little more patience to pursue, with this, it appears to have taken a step back at the moment. And we don't know when, Iran will, pull back and say it's ready to resume talks. We don't know how US and Israel are going to pursue the matter. And we certainly, as of now, it looks as though the system is holding up in Iran, because people are really out on the streets mourning the death of Ali Larijani, and even those who oppose the regime will consolidate under the national flag. And given this whole Shia mythology of martyrdom, and Khamenei has already become a martyr, not just South Asia, as I said, even in Iraq, you've seen major demonstrations, Shia demonstrations outside the Green Zone, where most of the Western embassies are. And this is something which may not happen with the ease with which the US and Israel expected regime change in Iran. Okay. And whether they would be prepared to stay the course to bring that about and have another foreign military entanglement for the US, whose outcome could be nebulous, as in Iraq, we don't know.
Okay. Ma'am, request you to please stay on with us.